Well, welcome back to Monday Special. The road to alcoholism often has no entry sign, and often addicts are the last ones to know that they have a problem. Now, the distinction between love for drink and addiction is often blurred by common excuses by the drinker that theirs is just a habit born out of a craving for socialization. Michael Jenga spoke to recovering addicts who have moving tales of how alcohol impacted on their lives.
It is only 2 for the road. Ile wazungu. 2 for the road. Yeah, 2 for the road.
What usually starts as just 1 for the road ends up being an addiction that is breaking up homes, killing dreams, and leaving many in a sorry state. A disease called alcoholism.
Alcoholism is a disease of the brain, and it progresses very slowly. Usually it starts in early adolescence, mid-adolescence, sometimes late adolescence, when you experiment with a couple of drinks.
According to experts, this is a disease that is slowly affecting more and more members of the society and is costing lives through illnesses and deaths caused by drunk driving.
It's a very slow disease that progressively destroys your life. And you end up in a rehab if you're lucky. And if you don't end up in a rehab, either you die or you go crazy.
We spoke with a number of victims who narrated to us how alcoholism changed their lives. Mwangi began drinking at the early age of 10 as his family owned a bar and he would be taken there over the weekends.
My first exposure to alcohol, I was very, very young. I was like 5, 6 years old. Usually at family gatherings. We used to have these small family gatherings at my grandfather's place. He owns a pub, so when people are not looking, he has to sneak a few drinks.
What started as innocent sips escalated to a huge problem, and by the time he was joining university, he was already an alcoholic.
I enrolled into 4 different universities, none of them passing first year. Mainly bangi, alcohol, miraa, anything, even cough syrup, heroin, cocaine, anything just to get me high. We used to call it titration.
His parents didn't realize what was wrong with him and kept changing him from one university to another before he finally quit school and joined his drinking mates.
I lost everything because I spent more time getting high than taking care of what I was supposed to be taking care of. That's my education, my hygiene, even eating.
Mwangi is not alone. His wife, Judy, was addicted to the drink, and when alcohol could not give her the high or euphoria it used to, she resorted to heroin, and before long, the combination of the two.
I had become a manipulator, a liar, a pathological liar. When you get into addiction, you become a pathological liar.
Judy says her family tried to take her to several rehabilitation centers, but she got out and immediately relapsed to the same problem.
I started stealing. I started doing things I never thought I could do. I started manipulating people. I started even stealing from my friends. I lost all my friends. I lost everything, as in everything.
Many of those we spoke with say by the time they noticed they had a problem, it was too late. Jeff, whose name we've had to change to conceal his identity, says the problem almost cost him his marriage and his job.
You never succeed with alcohol. Alcohol will not lead you anywhere. It's only there to mess up your life.
Alcoholism is influenced by different things from psychological, social, and environmental factors. The recovering addicts tell us how social drinking turned to binging and later on snowballed into a huge problem.
I started taking spirits, alcohol which could make me get drunk, and my body resisted that. So I could stay in a pub from morning till late in the evening. I could start when the bar is being open. I could be the last person to leave the pub.
If you have alcoholism or you have a problem with alcohol, you may not be able to cut back or quit without help. Denying that you have the problem is usually part of alcoholism and other types of excessive drinking. Some of the main centers dealing with alcoholism in the country include Mewa Rehabilitation Center in Malindi, Red Hill Place, Nairobi Place, and Chiromo Detox Center.
We Twende hapo Kitindo, nitakubaia mimi mwenyewe.
Remember, there is hope. Alcoholism is a disease and it has a cure. Michael Njenga, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Well, then, just how widespread is alcoholism in Kenya? Well, according to a 2012 study by the National Authority for the Campaign Against Drug Abuse, that is NACADA, over 2 million Kenyans take alcohol. To be precise, there are 2,720,000 Kenyans. That is about 13.6% of the population consumes alcohol. Now, more than half of this, that is 1.1 million addicts or hooked to alcohol, or in medical terms, show dependency towards alcohol. And did you know that alcohol kills? For instance, within a 5-month period from April to September this year, at least 597, close to 600 Kenyans perished from alcohol-related deaths. That is according to NACADA. You can see the level there. Rift Valley was leading with 148 deaths, followed by Central 117, Western 107, and Nyanza 104. Now, the deaths could have been as a result of alcohol-related accidents, for example, drunk driving, liver cirrhosis, alcohol poisoning or toxicity, and alcohol withdrawal, which of course is the immediate effect of just stopping to take alcohol altogether. And then we have some alcoholism effects, including loss of control of eye muscles, hypoglycemia, which is low levels of glucose in the blood, gastritis, weakened immune system. We also have cardiac arrhythmia, which is irregularity in heartbeat, anemia, pancreatitis, and increased blood pressure. We also have cancer of the tongue, mouth, esophagus, and liver. Now, according to NACADA, majority of those taking alcohol are between 25 to 35 years. You can see there that is about 500,000 consumers, or 17.6% of the total number of Kenyans who drink alcohol. 13.6 of those drinking alcohol are between the ages of 36 to 65. Those between the ages of 18 to 24 account for 10.2%. And shockingly, about 50,000 teenagers, you can see there in Kenya, drink alcohol. That is between the ages of 15 to 17, accounting for 1.6%. Now, in Kenya, there are more male alcohol addicts than women in Kenya. 21.2% there, males and females, 5%. Regionally, Nairobi is the drinking capital, leading there with 22%, followed by Rift Valley, 15.7%, Eastern 14.6%, Nyanza 12%. Central, interestingly, people already questioning, is second last at 10%. Northeastern is last at 5.4%. Now in studio, of course, to discuss this, we have a panel here, and I'll start with my extreme right to introduce them. That is the psychiatrist, Dr. Catherine Siengo Mutusia. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight. And of course, next to her is David Ogot, who was an alcoholic before, now has reformed. Sorry, that is Dr. William Okedi. All right, now this is David Ogot on my right, who was an alcoholic before, and now of course works in raising awareness on the same. On my left, I have Rachel Nguruke, who is affected by alcoholism, not firsthand, but because she has a brother who is an alcoholic, and it has affected her in so many ways. She'll tell us about the experience. And of course, William Okedi, CEO NACADA, on my far left, to tell us about the policy and what NACADA is doing on the same. Well, thank you very much again for making time for us tonight. I'll start with a rather ignorant question, because many people may not know. I'll start with you, Doctor. What is alcoholism?
Okay, alcoholism is a state where somebody has to take alcohol. If they don't take alcohol, they get withdrawal, and it is actually a chronic disease which is fatal, can lead to death, and it is preventable, and it can also be treated. But I also want to tell Kenyans that most of the time we concentrate on addiction or dependency, but there are other effects of alcohol which are also harmful. When we talk of binge drinking, where people accumulate and take a lot of alcohol over the weekend, that is also very harmful. We know that even the moderate drinking, where we say one drink for a female and 2 drinks for a male can also cause effects like increasing chances of breast cancer, for example, increasing road accidents. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So when does one become an alcoholic, David?
I would, just on top of what Dr. Aria said, where you have a situation where you have lost control over your drinking. So you are not, once I say, for example, now if I told you, Hussein, let's go and have a beer each, you might be able to, but I cannot. Once I drink, the drink's in charge. I'm not able to predict whether I will have 1 drink or I'll be there for drink 1 crate or I'll be there for 1 week. So you are not able to predict the outcome, and it is usually nasty. So despite repeated attempts at controlling, you are 99% of the time you drink, you'll end up with a problem. And then you're also not able to see that your problems are arising. But the main thing I would stress is the loss of control.
Right.
Yeah.
And David Ogot, of course, he'll tell us his experience in a short while. Interestingly, he's the son of Professor Bethel Ogot, and Grace Ogot was a former MP and assistant minister. You were an alcoholic. Just tell us your experience. What happened?
I'm still alcoholic. I'm a recovering alcoholic. Basically, I'm just sober today. It's a 1 day at a time thing. What happened, I started drinking in first form because I couldn't talk to girls.
When was this?
This was in 1973. I was in Lenana.
You're saying because you couldn't talk to
girls.
To girls.
So I was misled by my peers that girls like tough guys, guys who drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes. And if you look at the movies, and at the time especially, even today, that was what you were seeing. The guy who got the girl at the end of the movie was a smoker and a drinker. And so I actually started with cigarettes. The first time I tried alcohol, I stole my father's alcohol, took a big gulp, and I didn't like the taste. I spat it out. So I stayed with cigarettes. Of course, I still couldn't talk to girls. And my friends were laughing and saying, yeah, because you've only completed half the assignment, you need to sort out. So before going to second form, whenever my parents were out of town, I stole his beer, I'm vomiting, I'm nauseous. But by the time I went to second form, I could actually drink 2 beers. And the first time we went out, I think during a function, and I was smoking and drinking, and the girls asked me, and what about you? I talked and they were laughing, and I told Jesus, thank you, for solving my problem. So that's basically how I started. Now, with hindsight, I now know what the alcohol did was just got rid of my inhibitions, so I wasn't shy or afraid.
And for how long? For how long did you do this?
My start to stop was 27 years.
27 years.
Yeah, and it affected me. Of course, when you start, you're in control. So I could go somewhere, there's alcohol, I don't feel like drinking, I'll drink something non-alcoholic. But as it got on, my tolerance was increasing, so I needed more alcohol to feel the same effect. Some of my friends are laughing by Form 3, you still smoke cigarettes, that's for beginners. They were now smoking bangi, which I tried and I didn't like. So I was an off and on smoker of bangi, as a last resort when there was nothing else. And so I didn't do very well for my O-levels, ended up in a day school.
Now, when did you know then you were an alcoholic? When did you know? How did you know?
That took long because, we blame others. We blame situations, we blame people, we blame things. I'm drinking because, it's never because of me. I'm not at fault. I'm stressed. And that time I think we could really tell there was a problem was after my A-levels. Because now I was really more or less a daily drinking person, sleeping out, and then my mom is worried, so when I come home, there's fracas with my dad. And, but still people were attributing it to other reasons. And that is why in 82, I was packed off to India. I did my A's in 79, but I was packed off to India in 82. Right,
we'll come with the experience in a short while. Let me bring in Rachel Gruki. You told me 27 years old?
Yes.
27 years old.
Yes.
You are affected, but not firsthand.
Yes.
That is because of your brother.
Yes.
He's an alcohol addict. How is the experience for you?
It also affects when you get a person who is an alcoholic. It does not only affect the person drinking, but it also affect you as a family relative, because you only realize when things go out of hand. They can't be able to hold it anymore in school. They can't be able to work out their normal childs. Like you would expect, you go to school, perform, go to the next level. But it raises concern that you have to be shifted from one school to another. They're trying to maintain you so that you may cope up with the standards of the other. And in one way or the other, they'll start selling your own belongings.
That has happened to you?
Yes.
He has done that?
Yes.
Is he younger than you or older than you?
Pretty younger than I am.
How old is he?
He's 23. 23. But when you try to bring things together, you can't be able to, unless that person accepts that, yes, I have a problem and I need help. But they always blame. You know, it's not, if it were not for, if you would have help, I would have done this. If you had done this, you would have given me more money. But at the end of the day, they still go back to the same trail. So to me, definition of it is a disease that needs to be treated, and it graduates from one level to another. Because that which quenched them when they started, it was a bottle. But with time, they can take a crate. With time, they can go from, it graduates, move from alcohol to another, one leads to another, the other things. And when you get it when it's out of hand, or when it's not curbed, when it's young, pretty young.
Right.
Things are hard.
Have you taken him to rehabilitation centers? Have you done that?
One, the person has to agree. Sit down and agree. Otherwise, if you force him, he will just run away. We have how I met Mr. David Ogot is when I went to campus, I had the zeal to get to know, why do people take drugs? Do they do it because they don't have knowledge? Are they not educated? Because even when you go to campus, you find people draining into it. So I had him speak over the radio, and I took his number and I called him, visited the office, and we had a chat. And I inquired, can we talk? Can I help my brother? And we discussed, and he told me, you see, you know the person who is sick? I need the patient. Agree, talk, and so that I may accept that I have a problem, so that can be treated. So I had a meeting with Mr. Ogot in his office, I and my brother, and we had a discussion on the same. Yeah. But coming to a point of accepting that he has a problem,
it's always been a problem.
It's still a big journey. It's a journey.
Dr. William Okedi, of course, the CEO of NACADA, you have helped us with statistics today. How much or how big is this problem in the country?
I must say that this is a gigantic problem in the country. You have seen the statistics, but the statistics hide a lot of the suffering that goes on in families, the suffering that goes on among communities. It has social ramifications, it has economic ramifications, and collectively, this is a huge problem. And I think that in order to address this challenge, we need to look at a number of parameters. First, the behavioral aspects of it. And that calls for interventions that deal with awareness, prevention, and knowledge, and influencing attitudes. Secondly, we need to look at the policy framework within which alcohol can be regulated in the country. And towards that, there are laws and regulations in this country, specifically the Alcoholic Control Act of 2010, which aims at regulating the times within which people can drink, regulating the quality and the manufacturers and the distribution of alcohol, but also states or stipulates penalties for those who violate this.
Do you think all that is being regulated at the moment now?
No. There is a problem. I think there's a lot of laws already in place, but the enforcement is where the problem. I'll give an example. Wines and spirits shops. You are supposed to buy and go and consume elsewhere. But most of them you go and you find they have stools and what, they're like bars. They've been converted into bars. And there's protection for this. We tried to do something in Rongai. And we were depending on police support. And lo and behold, we had an issue. because that is where the protection is coming from. You look at advertisements. Alcohol manufacturers said they want to self-regulate. I agreed with media, watershed hours, 8:30 and beyond.
Yeah.
But that was only TV. Radio, for example, it starts from morning.
Does NACADA have a role to play in this?
I think NACADA has a major role, and the major role of NACADA is to coordinate a response from, on the one hand, the enforcement, on the other hand, to address the disease itself in terms of treatment and rehabilitation facilities across the country. So, in terms of the challenge of enforcement, and I think it is important to say that the challenge of enforcement of laws in this country is a major cancer of this country, because we have issues of corruption. These are systemic societal issues that need to be dealt with.
Sorry, I have to cut you short. What is the role of NACADA in that?
The role of NACADA, first, is to ensure that appropriate laws are put in place. And we work closely with other departments and with government to have this. Once the laws are put in place, we support enforcement. For example, in the last financial year, we spent 73 million shillings to support, to give the district commissioners and enforcement agencies in the country to ensure that they are facilitated to enforce the law. Secondly, at the national level, we get to chair the National Technical Committee that is composed of all the agencies that are charged with the enforcement. Now, challenges are discussed in this.
Which are?
Which include the issues of corruption, which include, for example, weaknesses in the legislation, and therefore NACADA initiates processes of reviews. For example, amendments to the 2010 laws, which are now before the Senate.
You have been affected by this.
Sure.
So have you. Have you felt the presence of organizations or authorities like NACADA on the ground?
Before we started, I was discussing with him and telling him I've been in campus for a period of, let's call it 4 years now. And rarely do you find a poster or a session whereby young people are brought together and told, this is what happened, this is how to go about it. Not unless, even though it's, forget about a campus, even in primary school. Let me give you a good example with HIV. You know, when the young children, when they're growing up, they are well taught, it's a syllabus, it's in their syllabus, they're able to get to know HIV, this is HIV definition, what it's all about. Now, if the same process can be empowered in schools, when these young people, the curiosity they are in, they get to know, get information, the repercussion, pros and of the same, I think you'll curb it, because it's very hard to get to join universities to get students together and sit down. Let me tell you about drugs. Yet the advertisement are portraying it in the essence of Imara kama simu. When you drink it, you become a hero.
Don't go there.
You know, things
you don't really need to brand any kind of alcoholic drinks. Yeah. Let me get it from you.
Yes, I would say, because I actually met Dr. Okedi when he came in last year, and met with him several times to kind of ask, there needs to be a change, a shift in how NACADA operates with the organizations on the ground. Government cannot be on the ground. And I'll give an example, National AIDS Control Council. You'll walk in, this is who I am, this is what we do. And at the end of the day, if they find out you're not briefcase and whatever, there are systems and you are funded and you do the work. At the end of the year, you account and it continues. So that you are then on the ground, because essentially we are doing the same thing, but we are at the ground level. But you are finding a situation where, because many times a simple solution, for example, the enforcement issue, I wrote some article, I think some years back, where I suggested pick one of the big clubs, find the underage drinkers there during any weekend, revoke their liquor license for 1 year, and make sure the media splashes that. Trust me, Hussein, you walk into that bar, you are 27 like Rachel, but you look 17, nobody, you are even giving them your ID, they won't sell you liquor. And these are simple solutions. Take their license for 1 year.
Okay.
And even the civilians on the ground need to know. They can report, call NACADA, call, if you're feeling the police won't act, call NACADA, there's a wines and spirit here or whatever.
I'll get a response from the NACADA CEO in a short while. We need to take a short break. Now remember, you can join us in the conversation on our SMS platform, 22422. Tell us your experiences, or in fact, if you have any questions regarding alcoholism, you can ask. We have a psychiatrist here who will give you the answers, and of course on Twitter using the hashtag MondaySpecialKE. We take a short break now. The discussion continues shortly after the break.